Hello and welcome to another episode of The Somewhat Rich and the Kind of Famous. I'm your host, Robin Mooch, and today we take you on a journey through the headquarters of the world-renowned, known in certain parts of the world, sort of, Podcast Zone 4! With humble beginnings using cans tied to string, the crew of Zone 4 have taken their startup and built an empire. In 2014, they celebrated their 5-year anniversary, promising great things to come. And now, 5 years later, they've delivered on that promise. Before we get to the tour, though, let's catch up with some of the other members and see what they've been up to. Captain Ron Fortier, nobody knows why they call him a captain, has retired from the regular podcasting, noting it was too taxing, and has opened the Airship 27 hangar, a bed and breakfast in the mountains of Colorado. You can walk into the dirigible-shaped and themed dome. Looks like a blimp to me. Sit by the fire and order any number of bacon dishes. Next up is Gordon Demowski, avid Doctor Who fan who turned his love for the famed British television show into a business. Yes, a business. He opened The TARDIS, a Chicago comedy club where he's found doing stand-up 3 nights a week. Thank God. His best-selling drink is the bacon-flavored vodka. They have to drink that to get through his set. Always on the go, John Wilson has set out on the Zone 4 Bacon Tour. Yes, Zone 4 finally got their own brand of bacon. And it's yummy. John also does the various voices for the now famous Zone 4 skits at request, including the legendary wizard Bacon, who's appeared in several casts since his debut 5 years ago, and sketches any number of monkeys for fans in attendance. And finally, we have Brant Fowler, the man who started it all. Zone 4 is now a full-fledged radio station, complete with a studio for music recordings where you can hear Brant making the latest Zone 4 album, Be My Bacon Tonight.
Hey, you there. You with the crappy accent. What kind of accent is that anyway? What are you doing in here? Security!
Well, that's all the time we have. Join us next time when we catch up with the rest of the cast and find out what became of Bill Gladman's 5th comic collecting retirement.
I said get out of here.
Coca-Cola wishes and bacon dreams!
And welcome back to The Zone. I'm Brant Fowler.
I'm Gordon Demowski. Hail Hydra.
Oh, I'm John Wilson. Nope, that's bad impersonation. John Wilson. I'm Frank Grainer.
Hey, and I'm Captain Ron Fortier. Welcome to all of you loyal Legionnaires, if you survived last week's mega show, to episode 265 of Zone 4. And hey, if you were paying attention right off the get-go and got those introductions, I think we finally got Gordon and Frank on the same show. Thus putting to rest finally that they are the same individual.
And on that note, I would like to say, and Frank, I'm going to say this on your behalf. Okay, Bill, will you quit? Will you just stop beating that dead horse to a bloody pulp? Give it up. You took a stupid line that I put in a little comedy sketch and blew it out of proportion, Glenn. And seriously, knock it off.
Anything to add, Frank?
Well, I just, like I said before, I'm just sad now because I can't get free drinks anymore. They're like, oh, you're Gordon Demowski, and we buy you a drink. Now it's like, can't do that anymore. So,
you know what, Frank? You know what I can do? I actually have Brant's credit information, so I can create fake credit cards for you.
Wait a minute.
And you want the Gordon to come after me, Gordon? What the hell? Your Brant Fowler's coming in for credit default. Oh, God, no.
Well, Frank, you still got the John Goodman thing. You can still get free drinks that way, so you're good.
Gordon, I don't know if you ever heard this, but I actually signed an autograph to a drunk as John Goodman one time in Springfield, Ohio. Another guy was messing with me, and he's like, what are you doing in Springfield? And I'm thinking, why the hell would John Goodman come to Springfield, Ohio? I'm like, hey, what's your name? Oh, it's Matt. I'm like, here, two Matt. This is John Goodman.
I can believe that.
Yes.
Anything
And
happens in
next
spring.
time you probably told someone, hey, John Goodman told me to piss off. Yeah.
All right, before we fall too far down this rabbit hole, we do have some sponsors this week that we definitely want to mention.
Sponsor of the week.
First of all, of course, audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Zone4podcast, and you can get a free 30-day trial and a free book download. And, you know, the guys tease me all the time about standing about pajamas all the time, so I looked up what kind of audiobooks you can listen to about pajamas. Just for the heck of it. Why not? So, you can find on Audible Llama Llama Red Pajama. That sounds fun.
Wow. All right.
What?
How did I miss that during my education? Jeez.
Oh, my God.
You can find Fancy Nancy Pajama Day. The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. That's my life story.
Brant, has the strain of working with John and Chuck finally gotten to you? Have you finally cracked?
I cracked a long time ago. What are you talking about?
Brand, I'll say this before and I'll say it again. You really need to get out a little more. Really.
But no, you can find over 100,000 titles on Audible.com, including, since this ties into our topic, Marvel's Captain America: The Winter Soldier, The Secret Files, the junior novelization.
Hey, and that one comes with a 5-minute little preview clip.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Which I listened to this afternoon. It's read by a gentleman named Tom Taylorson.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, going with today's topic. If you're a big fan of Captain America: Winter Soldier, check out this novelization. It's really well done.
Awesome. Very cool. So and be sure to use audibletrial.com/zone4 because it does help out the show. All right.
We need all the help we can get.
Yeah, obviously, as you can help. Here.
Hey, I didn't realize how popular the show was until after last week's mega, anniversary episode aired.
Uh-huh.
But I can't go anywhere through Fort Collins now, and people don't ride by and roll their windows down and look at me and yell, "Bacon!"
That's the first comment I started getting from people. As soon as they started listening, I started getting Facebook messages, "Bacon!"
We've got a battle cry for Zone 4. There you go.
Nice. All right, and our other sponsor this week is C2E2, which you can learn all about at c2e2.com. Takes place April 25th through 27th, so next weekend, coming up very soon. You can visit Comic Related at C2E2 at tables D1, D2, and D3. All weekend long, we're actually going to have a bunch of independent creators signing at the Comic Related tables, including Ivan James, Douglas Paskovich, I'm sorry if I butcher your name, Craig Parton, Sarah Binkin, J.M. Hunter.
Sarah Bacon?
Sarah Bacon's going to be all right.
Is she single? Oh.
Oh, God.
And I've just made angry all of our female listeners, so I would like to apologize for that.
Also, it's John Westhoff and Brian Bowles.
Bowles.
Oh, Lord.
And be on the lookout for my clone double that got away and still running around at conventions.
Yep, and Andy Cordy and Rose McLean to wrap that up. Thank you to Decapitated Dan for arranging all that, by the way. So, yeah, and he will be there as well as our own very own Gordon Domowski and John Wilson and Chuck Moore. So, and of course, as we mentioned last week, hop over to Windy City Pulp and Paper, taking place in Chicago the same weekend, to see Captain Ron.
Hey, Chicago is going to be the happening place next week.
Yeah. All right, and we definitely want to mention that we are proud members of the Comics Podcasts Network. You can find us on comicspodcasts.com each and every Friday. As the episodes go up everywhere else, they go up there too. So check it out and all the other shows they have on that network.
Hey, and before we jump into this week's topic, which we've been anxious to do since the film was released, I do want to give out a really, really warm shout out to one of our most loyal listeners out there. I wanted to do it last week, but of course, with all the shenanigans and hilarity and all that good stuff, forgot to. We wrapped up the show and it wasn't until the day after, and I'm like kicking myself. But super artist Pedro Cruz.
Yes.
All right. He and his wife on April 7th welcomed their first child into this world, little baby Isaac Cruz. So, hey, a shout out to the newest Zone 4 Loyal Legionnaire and to all the Cruzes. Congratulations. I hope mom, dad, and everybody's doing super good.
Absolutely. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So this week we have no headlines to talk about because, as you can already tell, we are excited to talk about Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So it's topic time.
Topic time. It's topic time.
Topic time! Yay!
And
Oh my
we'll.
God.
You've never been on with Ron, have you?
Oh my goodness. Only the
Ron
highest
gets
quality
excited.
sound effects.
And Frank, just to put this in perspective, you do know that in Colorado there are certain substances that are legal that may not necessarily be legal in Ohio or
That's true,
Illinois
yeah.
or Kentucky.
That's
I'm
very
still
true.
waiting for Ron to go. I'm still waiting for Ron to go. This is Captain Ron. Wait a minute. Where am I at? Where am I at?
But we're also going to be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., the 2 episodes that have aired since the movie released because they do tie into the movie. But this movie, Captain America: The Winter Soldier, sequel to First Avenger, of course, came out 2 weeks ago now. And, we've all had a chance to see it. Yes, I've had a chance to see it.
What did you do? Go on pajama day?
Of course. What else?
Thank God to the Koreans.
But the movie's doing really well. It broke 500 million worldwide.
Yeah.
So it's right now it's sitting at about almost 506 million worldwide. So that's huge for 2 weeks into the movie. So that's congrats off to Marvel. A lot of people are calling this the best Marvel film yet. That's debatable, but it's definitely up there. So I guess. Like we do reviews and stuff, we'll go around and see what everybody has, your general overall thought about it, and then we'll kind of discuss as we go, because we haven't had a chance to talk about this movie yet on the show. So
Right. And hey, we definitely have to put this out for any of you who've been living in a cave,
Yep.
just came out and saw the sunlight, and have not yet seen the film. Hey, I'm really awfully sorry, but we're going to spoil the shit out of this, okay?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
it's too freaking bad. Don't listen if you haven't seen the movie yet.
Yeah.
And to be perfectly fair, if you're reading any of the media about it, the media spoiled this, and if you're watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you've been spoiled. So
yeah.
if you're offended by any of our spoilers, take off the headphones, turn off the MP3 player, go to your doctor, have him surgically remove your head from your posterior, and breathe some fresh air.
And then go see the movie, then come back, put your headphones on, and listen to the rest of the show.
Right, of course.
But, yeah, so who wants to kick this off? Frank, you want to kick this off here?
All right.
All right.
Well, since I've not been on with Ron and the G-Man on this, I'm going to say, my spiel is this.
Before you even say it, Frank, you know Bill Gladman's now going to sue you for calling Gordon the G-Man, right?
Yeah, but that's because his nickname's Gaucho. It doesn't have nothing to do with anything else.
All right, go ahead.
I will never compare the standalone films right now to the Avengers because I think the Avengers are the gross advantage because all the storytelling of the separate movies that led up to it, they were just able to go right into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I always compare the standalones to the standalones. I love Cap 2. At first, I thought it was a nudge behind Iron Man 1, but because Iron Man 1's ending kind of got a little sloppy with the fight and all that, I may have to say that that's the top movie of the standalones. I thought it was so cool in a way that the movie held a great pace. It was very good. My favorite personal thing, everyone's got to love Arnim Zola, even though the Atari 2600 was faster than him. In the setup that he was, it was a cool rendition of Arnim Zola from the comic.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, for the movie, it did not feel like 2.5 hours. And maybe it didn't have like the big wow moments that you had in Avengers, but the movie was so clean. And I got to tell you, I really didn't think they were going to pull off Falcon well. But how did Falcon actually, the guy, I forget, what's the actor's name again? Jordan?
Howard Mackie.
Oh,
No,
sorry,
that's not right.
Anthony Mackie.
Anthony Mackie. Howard Mackie's a comic creator. What about that?
But I will say this, how they pulled off the Falcon as being a clean-cut version of Cap without being hokey was great. And Scarlett Johansson, at first I thought she would be the weak link in the Avengers, but she's really come into her own. I have nothing bad to say about the movie at all. I only hope that in Cap 3, which I talked here's my name drop name, but when I talked to Mark Waid at Gem City, I don't know if you guys had heard this, but they're talking about with Cap 3, not only is it going to be Zemo, but they're talking about bringing Crazy 50s Cap back. If you remember that storyline.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I liked the movie. And like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of there wasn't a lot of moments. I was like, oh my God, that was such a wow. But you know what? The movie was very, very, very good. I have no complaints about it whatsoever. Evans has come into his own as Captain America, much like Hemsworth has come in as Thor.
Yeah.
And that's what I have at the moment.
Okay. Ron, what'd you think?
Okay. Hey, look, let's do a little talking about, I really don't want to get into, and I hate doing that, qualifying or quantifying one film as better than another film or this or whatever. Mm-hmm. You really got to applaud Marvel, because I think each and every single film has that ability of standing on its own legs and be, looked at and criticized for itself. But then it fits into that larger, mosaic that they're doing, which I think is an absolutely amazing and remarkable feat. Now, going into Winter Soldier, we'd seen the trailers for, months ahead of time, and Cap's my favorite all-time comic book character. That's a done deal, all right? And First Avenger, I absolutely loved. It's one of my all-time favorite films. And the more I kept reading about and learning about how they were going to do Winter Soldier, the more excited I got how they were going to, now start playing off some of the threads that they left off from First Avenger. Because, you leave off First Avenger and you really want to get more into Steve Rogers' head. And, what's that, that awkwardness, that awful tragedy of being a man out of time, that your world's, way back in history, 75 years. And you want to see some of those emotions playing through him. But he never gets a chance to do that because suddenly, the aliens attack. And there's Fury and the Avengers and boom, 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 boom. So that by the time the Avengers is done and he goes riding off on his motorcycle, you're keeping your fingers crossed that we'll finally get those beats, all right? And we do. We get him in Winter Soldier. Smack on. From the opening scene where he meets Anthony Mackie, Sam Wilson, who's going to be an awesome actor, okay, and totally pulled off the Falcon, hands down, all right? Mm-hmm. From the moment they start talking, they're both veterans of two different wars, but they identify with each other immediately. And the bit about he gives him, the Marvin Gaye album, mm-hmm. and he adds it to his little checklist of things he's trying to keep up with to bring himself back up to speed. I thought that was absolutely, it's the little touches in a film that nail me. These kind of films, you expect the big blowout action sequences, but it's so much fun to see how they do the small stuff in between, like the glue that keeps it together, okay? I'm thrilled that we got to see the scene with him and the aged Haley Atwell as Peggy Carter. Yeah. That thing almost had me crying. That's how well that was played. And I have to echo, what Frank just said, as far as Chris Evans, I think, is coming into his own more and more as an actor. And he's so comfortable in the role of Steve, Rogers. It's just brilliant. You totally believe this guy. Now, hey, this movie starts off with action. And one of the things I've always been ripped off about superhero action, and especially the guys on the other end of the aisle, DC and whatever, is that whenever you get any kind of a fight scene, a choreographed fight scene, the cameramen have no clue what to do with it. And they like come in up, so that you're looking up the guy's nose hairs, for Pete's sakes. All right? You don't see the action. Whereas the attack on this freighter by Cap, Black Widow, and the team is meticulously well laid out up until it leads to, and you know where it's going, his fight with Batroc. And what do? They so brilliantly bring them both out into this main part of the ship, the deck, that's wide open, and the camera guy pulls back so that you see every single movement they make. My jaw dropped. That's amazing. One of the best choreographed fight scenes. Yes, Frank.
Hold on. I got a one statement and one question, because you mentioned about Cap 1. My one thing I forgot to say, my wow factor was, I love the fact that this is the first time you clearly see Cap in his super soldier form, serum form, when he kicks a guy and the guy flies away, because people forget that he's much stronger than a regular person. That got me, that was a wow moment for me. But let me ask you this, Ron. Do you think Cap 1, even though it was as good as it was, do you think some of the, because it's not really talked about amongst the hierarchy of the movies, do you think part of that's because it was pigeonholed a little bit as a World War II movie? And some people, find that as a niche besides the superhero thing.
Again, all right. It sets it apart, obviously, and I think you have to look at the two halves of this character, Frank. All right, and the first half is the classic Captain America that Jack Kirby and who was his name? Joe Simon. Joe Simon created back during World War II, all right? So that to make that particular film, you really had to do a period piece. And trust me, okay, my gut fear when I found out they were going to do a Captain America movie was that we'd just kick off at a modern day, take on the character, which I think would have had no weight at all to the character, which is why First Avenger to me is brilliant. And let's not forget, all right, they got the one guy in the world who understands the sensibilities of a period film like that, and that was director Joe Johnston, who had done The Rocketeer. So, I mean, to me, Captain America, First Avenger is like I said, it'll go down as one of my all-time favorite films. The mere fact that it's a World War II picture is what makes it stand out to me, and that you got all the sensibilities of that era. You felt it. You got the sense of it, which I absolutely adore, and it's totally unique, and we have to say that in the ranks of superhero films, so that when you get to Winter Soldier, now we'll get to the second half. This is Captain America as envisioned by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby from the 1960s. This is the guy who comes out of the block of ice, and it becomes a whole different element because now you're playing off, modern days and what's this guy's character like? What's his feelings about patriotism as opposed to the sarcasm that we have today in the world, people being cynical and not trusting each other. And doesn't that play out amazingly well in Winter Soldier 2? Because suddenly it's a political drama without losing any of its snap, pat, pow of an action film. I got to tell you guys, and I give me a chance to tip my hat here. I've read a lot of reviews on Winter Soldier, all right? And God, 99.9 of them positive. But the one I appreciated perhaps the most of a couple that I read was written by our own amigo here, Gordon, who I think, really laid that back at how well the writers and directors balanced both the political themes without preaching to us,
right,
at the same time making it a very cautionary tale post-11.
Right.
With Cap right in the middle of that. Gordon, that was a brilliant review. I kudos for doing it. So, hey, bottom line, guys, I sat through Winter Soldier 2, Cap 2, loving every single element of this thing. I mean, from the direction, from the action, from the actors themselves, the story plot, bringing Bucky back, that whole, pow to Steve, seeing, his oldest friend in the world. All of it, just it blew me away. it's one of those rare films, guys, that I will be definitely back in the theaters to see again, which is the highest thing I can ever, give as far as my applause for the film. The mere fact that it's going to get me back in the theater to see it again, maybe once, maybe a couple times. And then I'll be the first guy standing in the Blu-ray line when it comes out. That's how much I love this movie.
Yeah.
I know. I don't want Gordon to call me John Wilson. I know I spoke too fast when there was something I forgot to say. I love the fact that Robert Redford. I watched it 3 times now with different people, and the more I watch, the more I appreciate Robert Redford, because I'll tell you something. He played a great zealot. Because even when he got caught being the bad guy, he believed in what he was doing, and he was like trying to convince him. You sure you want to do that? But the look on his face, it wasn't like he was maniacal. I mean, he was subtly maniacal without being crazy. He really believed in it. And he played a great zealot. I thought he was great in that film. Now I'll let someone else talk.
Well, we'll let Gordon and Brant, pick up on their thoughts of the film. But what you just said, Frank, is something that I want to get into when we get into the second half of this show and bring in the TV series Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Because what they've done and augmented with the TV show, which is what they did with the film, all right, is basically that creepiness, guys, where Hydra really, really believes, just like the Nazis did, that what they're doing is for the good of mankind. And that scares the hell out of me.
Yeah. All right, Gordon, what'd you think?
Okay, well, I thought it was a totally crappy film, and I would never see it again. No, I kid. Well, I liked it, and just to kind of pick up on kind of a point that Frank made, I've been reading a lot. I read an interview with the screenwriters of this film who did the first film. And their approach was, when they were brought onto this project, what they realized very early on was they can't just do a 20-minute flashback to World War II and then do a separate movie. The reason why the first movie was so World War II centric is that they realized that the only way you can show Steve Rogers adjusting to modern life, the only way you can really sell that is to really see where he came from. Mm-hmm. And I also agree with Frank that I've read a lot of things saying, oh, this is better than Avengers, or this is Avengers 1.5. And it's 2 completely different movies. Mm-hmm. One is a culmination and a group. It's a sequel, but it also works in a variety of ways. One is, for the first time, I feel like I'm trying to remember. I think it's Anthony and Joe Russo who directed this.
Yeah.
You can tell they read a lot of Kirby Captain America comics. Mm-hmm. Just the way some of those with the shield, the way some of those are framed, you can tell they actually studied, because that's what I was thinking when I saw it. When he's throwing and he's leaping. I think where this movie really kind of works is in the screenplay, because this could have been a very straightforward, there's a bunch of leaders being assassinated, Cap investigates, Winter Soldier, hurrah. The fact is, it's touching on a lot of really current themes, themes around, things like WikiLeaks, what do people have the right to know? I know there's a book that came out recently, and it mentioned a project called Operation Paperclip, which was all about how Nazi scientists were brought after the war to kind of help out. There's issues around surveillance, and what's that limit between being free and feeling safe? And a lot of Person of Interest does it in a slightly different way, but this movie really had to balance that kind of issue. I'm also going to agree with Frank that I really liked Redford, because this shows you how much I kind of focus on the wrong thing. one of the World Security Council is played by an actor named Alan Dale. He's a British actor, and he tends to play like crime lords and shifty guys. And I thought he was going to be the mole. So when it's revealed that no, it's Redford who's the bad guy, I'm like, and it perfectly fits. It's a really well-directed film. There isn't a false note in it. I only have 2 complaints about it, and they're really minor. The first is, at 2 hours and 15 minutes, it felt a little short to me, but that's why DVDs have deleted scenes. And the other was the 2 post-credit sequences. One is a direct link to Age of Ultron. The other is kind of an emotional capstone. And I kind of wish they'd flip those around. But again, it's like grading something a 98 and complaining that it's not 100. Okay?
Right. Totally.
It's still an A+. And the other thing, I like the fact that it touched on, it's not a direct fan thing, but there were earlier runs in Captain America, like Secret Empire, that really focused on that kind of conspiracy within. But I really thought this was, I absolutely like this. I love this film and would go see it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I thought it was a fantastic film. Going back to the action that you were talking about, Ron, I was so totally impressed with that action, not just because they showed us all of it, but because of the depth of the choreography with that. I mean, Cap was flying all over the place doing these. I was like, wow, where did he learn all that? I mean, it was just.
Well, yeah, you can take the beats, and let's talk about that real quick. And I don't want to steal your time, Brent. The elevator sequence, okay, is insane. And then the second it's done, he's roaring out on his motorcycle, and he takes down the S.H.I.E.L.D. jet alone. I mean, and and what Frank said and Gordon both, that's right out of the Kirby magazine.
Yep.
I mean, that whole sequence where he takes down the jet with just his shield, my jaw dropped. I went, son of a, oh my, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing, and I really appreciated the care they took with Patrick the Leaper, because I think he's kind of a lame villain, but they made him actually look really cool, and the way his fighting style and everything kind of lended to that name, the Leaper, even though they didn't call him that in the movie. So, I mean, just it's those little things, like you said, Ron, that just kind of stuck out to me as I was watching it, that these people are really comic fans that made this movie, and they really paid attention to the intricacies that is the world of Captain America. And Falcon, from the trailers, I thought he was going to be fantastic, and he didn't disappoint. I thought it looked really well. I love when one of the wings broke off. The way that they made him spin kind of in the air, it was those little attentions to detail that I really appreciated. But I think the balance, like Gordon said in his review, the balance between the political and the action adventure aspect of it was really well done. It kind of took superhero movies to a different level with that, because it wasn't just, I mean, it is a superhero movie, but this could have just as easily been, a Mission Impossible, or something that.
This, what this could have been, Dark Knight Rises, because in my opinion, that movie is 3 hours of suck. I mean,
hey, Gordon, you shouldn't hold all that in. It's not good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching Dark Knight Rises, and we'll get back to Captain America. And the first thing I'm wondering is, where the bleep is Batman?
True.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's true. But, I thought it was, the pacing went really well. Yeah, I do agree that it did feel short, but I'm hoping the director's cut will, kind of fill that out a little bit.
Hey,
yeah.
Hey, special kudos for them making Marvel's favorite asshole, Gary Shandling, a Hydra person.
I love that, too.
Totally.
Yeah.
And is this my imagination, or is his face drawn so tight he talks like Anybody ever see Spies Like Us with Dan Aykroyd and Chevy Chase when they come out of the central gravity thing? His face is so tight he can't talk.
He's probably had work done, Frank.
Yeah, I think so.
Gordon, that's like saying I'm a little overweight, Gordon.
Him and Joan Rivers go to the same place. That's all. But no, I also appreciated Ron, and I know you're a fan of, or at least you were at one point a fan of the show Revenge.
Oh yes. God, yes.
I mean, I like the fact that she didn't just have a tiny, tiny bit part, which is what I feared. I mean, yeah, her part could have been a little bit larger, but she did have an important role to play in the movie, which I really loved, especially knowing who she is. And of course that was
eventually she will evolve with, which hopefully will happen in Cap 3.
Exactly.
But yeah, I know the scene you're talking about where everybody's befuddled on whose side everybody is all of a sudden, okay? And she immediately, the good Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. realizes, that's Captain America asking us to step forward and take, a leap of faith. And when Renlo tries to get that guy to blow up stuff or, send off the carriers, she immediately pulls out a gun, puts it on Renlo, and I went, yes, that's Sharon Carter, all right, okay.
Yep. Yeah, so I don't know, there was just so much to love about this movie. The whole way that S.H.I.E.L.D. was taken down from the inside out, and that the repercussions of that are going to spill over. We saw Maria Hill at the end applying for a job at Stark Industries, which I thought was perfect. It was just beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we see so much in the trailers, and the guys have already brought it up in discussing the film. But when Cap and the Black Widow are following the clues, and then the telemetric system sends them back to New Jersey. Huh? What's in New Jersey? And then it's Camp Lehigh. Okay, I love that playing back. And then you go, oh my God! When Zola starts talking, I had a chill in the theater, and I went, oh my God, that's Zola! And then he's going, yeah, and the Hydra is back, and I went, what? I mean, I was stunned. I never saw that coming.
Yeah,
and from that point on, that movie just revved it right up.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice also to see the role reversal, like the real subtleties. Like here's Cap already in the mall when they're sneaking out, saying, okay, we got two in front and two in the back. We're gonna, formation, blah blah blah. And Widow's schooling him on the art of spying, saying, public displays of affection make you uncomfortable. I know, kiss me.
Yeah, exactly.
And just a very subtle way. It was nice to see. I guess they expanded the roles very nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Oh, go ahead, Gordon.
I was about to say, kind of to Ron's point, they actually used story bits from the first movie, and they did callbacks, and they did it in a way that it didn't feel like, oh, we need to fill a couple of minutes here. I mean, using Camp Lehigh, referring back to an aged Peggy Carter, it's really good at being a sequel without feeling like a sequel or feeling like, oh, okay, we have to mention this because the audience is too stupid to remember it.
Yeah, right. And I never got the feeling, Gordon, that it was all ad-lib, that this was all planned out when they wrote the first script for First Avenger. And all the pieces are now come. And that's what I love about that kind of writing,
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this, and I mentioned this to Brant another time. Isn't it funny, though, how Marvel, and we will not mention DC tonight, okay? Just DC and Warner Brothers, please don't. But isn't it amazing how Marvel has now, let's just call it like it is. If Marvel laid an egg tomorrow with a movie, they're going to get a pass because they've done a great job up to this point. But isn't it amazing how the emphasis was at first, okay, first we're going to deal with we have to give the appeal of the movies to the masses, and we can't really appeal to the fanboys. But isn't it amazing, not only in now the movies, but also in S.H.I.E.L.D., which we'll talk about later, how the fanboy points and the ideas that they're doing to appease the fanboys are really hitting big. You know what I'm saying? Just like Arnim Zola. Everyone got excited about Arnim Zola.
Mm-hmm.
Even though the typical audience wouldn't know what it was. But they're hitting now these old school, they're making these old school references, old school points, and it's making the movies that much better.
I would beg to differ. It's not the fanboy points, it's the imagination. I think what they're doing is they're cherry picking items that are going to have a particular story reference. Chuck Moore, and I'm going to, I welcome the opportunity to have this conversation with him in a future episode, but he always talks about how, on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., he wants to see Stiltman. And to which I say, Chuck, nobody gives a flying frick about Stiltman. Don't watch a show like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to get the references. You watch it for the backdrop. And I think they've been really good at cherry picking items and being able to follow those through, because I sure as hell didn't see Arnim Zola coming. But when I saw the display kind of go in that phase, it's like, oh, could it be? Yes, it is. And someone who's not familiar with that, with Arnim Zola as a character, is going to watch and go, oh, that's actually quite clever, using old style computers to store a person's consciousness.
But that being said, though, it would look corny, though, if you did your typical Arnim Zola where you show a hunchback with a little bowl, a little condensed head. That would come across as stupid. You're right.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and touching on that, and touching on what Gordon said about the throwbacks to the first movie, I appreciated that with Arnim Zola, because in the first movie we got that shot of him where he was on the computer screen.
Yep.
And, obviously it wasn't the same thing here. He was in a different room or whatever. But, and then that was just kind of the tease. And it was like, okay, that's all we thought we'd ever get. Obviously they couldn't do what Frank just said, have him in the belly of this big creature. But, it was, we just never thought that we'd get anything beyond that. It was a nice little plug, nice little Easter egg for us hardcore fans. And then they throw it into this movie being on the monitor and everything. And it was a really clever way to do that. I agree.
Oh, I mean,
Grant Fowler is Arnim Zola, by the way.
That's just me.
Watching the film and all this, I mean, when Marvel brought back Captain America back in the 60s, I mean, he'd been around for a while when they got this whole idea of playing off the James Bond spy stuff that was very popular at the time. And ultimately, somebody at Marvel got the idea of turning Nick Fury into this, one-eyed, master spy, created S.H.I.E.L.D. and whatever. And at that particular time was the case of, well, if you're going to have this super organization, you really need, a super villainous organization, okay? I mean, James Bond had Smirch. You had to give something to the S.H.I.E.L.D. And so, here comes Hydra, right out of the late 60s, all right? And that whole bit with, cut off one head and two more grow back and everything else like that. So that when they were making First Avenger, there was this bit about, I'm going, well, that really wasn't in Cap in the Golden Age books. But, I can see why they want to do it as far as I thought. It went to that point. Okay, that's cool. All right, they have them fighting. Again, watching Winter Soldier in that scene in Camp Lehigh and how the second half of the movie plays out, where Hydra is now comes back and you find out it's this insidious cancer that he didn't defeat, all right, and it's wound its way throughout the heart of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I'm going, oh my God, that's the whole Jim Steranko S.H.I.E.L.D. comics that I read and loved when I was a kid, at that part of Marvel's, Silver Age, and it's so beautifully done. Hydra is an awesome villain. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I totally agree. And, we have to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's clear we love the movie and the implications that it has, not just for Marvel movies going forward, because obviously that's going to tie into Avengers 2 and the other movies. It has to. But directly, it affected Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which, we didn't know what was going to happen. We knew that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on a hiatus for a couple weeks, and then it was going to come back. And, we weren't really sure why, or, because it's taken a lot of breaks. But, it was kind of clever the way they did break it up, because, we complained about, okay, they took an entire month off here, they took the winter off, and now we understand why, because they had to save this episode for after this movie release.
Right, the timing. Totally.
Yeah, exactly. So it all makes sense now. Go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, and I was about to say, I was actually surprised because I figured I figured when I saw the movie, I thought, oh, okay, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they'll do like a 2-week prelude, and then like 3 or 4 weeks in, then they'll do the big reveal of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Hydra.
Mm.
What surprised the heck out of me, and this is actually to their credit, they just hit it and they hit it dead on and kept going with it, because there is a danger that, okay, if you see, if you watch Captain America, you're going to think, oh crap, why should I watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That show's not going to be on the air anymore. You watch the follow-up episode to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you're going to think, oh great, they just spoiled the movie, now I don't have to go see it. But I think it's, don't get me wrong, but it's a great move, because it's something that I don't think any other comic company that's looking to get success in the movie business would do. Is sometimes you got to take a huge creative roll of the dice.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Marvel's willing to do it, just like they're doing the 4, Iron Fist and Daredevil and 2 other shows for Netflix.
Yep.
They realize that, okay, they really can't go toe-to-toe with something like Arrow, but it's a great way to go, okay, they don't have to worry about ratings. They don't have to worry about, they know there's going to be a built-in audience. They know these are characters that may not necessarily sustain a movie, or in one case, they don't want to get Ben Affleck to play the lead character again. So, again, another huge creative roll of the dice.
Oh,
well,
again,
10 or 15 years from now, not to get too CRP on Marvel, but I think 10 or 15 years from now, they're probably going to be accredited with the fact that, as you said about rolling the dice, where you are doing things that were not done before, as using movies to lead into an end-all movie, and then having this very having a cumulative effect of using the big screen and the small screen to tell stories, to tweak the movies, and to involve storytelling more to make it better. I don't think we're going to realize how big this is going to be until about 10 or 15 years from now, when there's going to be a lot more people doing it.
Yeah, and I've read an article recently about that, talking about that specifically, how Marvel has kind of redefined the way films and television are approached because of that, the connection that you just talked about. The way that these movies, it's not like just your trilogy, it's like all these different franchises combined and existing in the same world, which is what we know as comic fans has been around for a long time in the comics. Mm-hmm. And now they've translated to this, and I think, like that article said, this could open up the way filmmakers start thinking about different properties and stuff. And it's going to be very interesting to see, what comes as a result of this, I think.
Well, I mean,
in 10 or 15 years, DC will have Batman, Superman out by then.
Maybe.
But again, we got to talk about the timing aspects of this, because the timing and the writing on the TV show was so balanced with the events in the film that Gordon nailed it, because the last episode they showed us before the official U.S. release of Winter Soldier was where things were starting to fall apart. Coulson and his team didn't know it was happening, and if you'll all recall, they were zeroing in on the clairvoyant, and they were going to go their separate ways. And if you recall, Agent Sitwell was there, and him and Coulson are buddies, and they're like, wish each other good luck.
Yep.
And they go off in their own separate way. Well, we get the movie, and Coulson's a Hydra agent, and he gets caught and killed. So that you come back to Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. the week after, and man, that's like really cutting it so bloody close. It's amazing, So that it's that first episode after the film came out, I mean, was just straight out suspense from beginning to end, leading up to that amazing, twisty, who who's the agent, the bad guys. I mean, Paxton, talk about chewing up scenery. Oh my God.
And the really
I just wanted to say, all of us, when we come to find out that the cookie cutter hero guy in the team is actually an evil, twisted agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Gordon, you said it last week at the end of the show. All those naysayers, we own you big time.
Well, let me, if I can just jump in with 2 points. The first is, in reading some of the fallout with the showrunners from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they actually were apprised of the script of Captain America as it was going through development. So they knew like what was coming down the pike, so that helped them with the writing, which is why I think it dovetails so nicely. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say, in terms of that second point about We Own You, ironically, before the movie was released, I was reading an article from a competitor to Comic Related, and no, it's not Bleeding Cool. And they interviewed the showrunners for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and their last line was, the problem is the showrunners think they are doing what they think the fans want rather than going to what the fans want. And after the movie was released and with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming up, there's still some griping about, well, okay, now it's getting better, but it still sucked in the past. To which I say, you know what? Grow a pair. Get over it. You were wrong.
Totally.
Yeah, Bill Gladwin.
Right.
Take that, Bill Gladwin.
Exactly.
Yeah. Bill, go ahead, Ron.
It's just, we're living this age and generation where people have no clue on how to read anything beyond the comic book, all right? I mean, you have showrunners under the guidance of Josh Whedon planning out an entire series, all right? Mm-hmm. And you really need to sit back and watch the pieces fall into place and not stop bitching and griping after 1 or 2 episodes, which is what happened with S.H.I.E.L.D., because this wasn't the fanboy image of what this show could be. And, take that, Steranko, okay? They were all like grousing like whiny little brats. All of a sudden now, when all these, reveals start happening because the story has reached that point where the climax and the reveals are powerful, dramatic moments. Oh, yeah, it's pretty good. You with ADH, amazing that you stuck around this long. God.
Okay, and let me jump in with this point. For those, listen to the logistics that you have to consider for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They not only had to coordinate with the writing of the movie, they also were limited in terms of certain characters were off limits because Fox owns X-Men and Fantastic Four. Mm-hmm. Sony owns Spider-Man. So just by that limit, they're not going to be able to throw any character they want in there. There's the guy who a lot of people complained, why don't they just say he's Sunfire? Sunfire's an X-Man. That's owned by Fox. There are legal issues. It'll be interesting to see Age of Ultron versus X-Men Days of Future Past. When you consider that they're working with a few more creative hamstrings and a few more creative limitations than most shows do. And this is not a complaint. It's just you're dealing with licensed characters. That's what you got to do. To me, I was much more willing to be patient starting off because I knew that, okay, they had to figure out their way to get that balance and to get it right. And so for all, and I also think, and it's, I say this as a part of nerd culture, I think way too often nerd culture tends to think of itself, it really needs to get over itself. That, it's not about, art is not being made for you. It is being made out of a person's individual creative impulse. Ron does not write Mr. Jigsaw thinking, oh, okay, there's this group out somewhere that reads it. He writes it because he enjoys writing Mr. Jigsaw. The showrunners, it's their job to do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they do it because they like to create. So I really wish fans would get over the fact that, okay, you don't like something and you think it's dumb, turn off the TV, go outside, get some fresh air, read a frickin' book, and let people who enjoy it enjoy it.
Exactly. Totally. 100%.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, Brant, let him enjoy it, Brant.
I mean, what's funny is there's a little bit, just to go on a little bit of a tangent, there's been some controversy because I guess with a recent episode of Game of Thrones, there were spoilers. And people who read the books said, well, if you'd read the books, you wouldn't be complaining about spoilers, would you? And my attitude is, who the hell cares? Let it go and leave it alone. And I'm not a Game of Thrones fan, but you don't see me going on saying, you know what, you guys are all idiots, da, 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 you know? Right. I usually save that for my Little Pony fans.
The bronies.
Bronies.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. But going back to kind of the connection between what am I
going back to whatever Brant.
Sorry, were you through? I'm sorry.
No. I just needed to let that laughter out.
Okay, that's fine. But going back to the connection with the first Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episode after it, I wanted to reply to what you guys said about that. I actually feel like, yeah, it took place in the aftermath of what took place in the film, but at the same time, I felt watching it that, okay, yeah, it spoiled the destruction of S.H.I.E.L.D., but aside from that, and maybe Fury's death, of course, but aside from that, there wasn't a whole lot that, like, oh, I had to watch the film to watch this episode of the show, and there wasn't, oh, I have to watch this episode of the show to see what happens next from the film. So I think they managed to balance that quite well, too. That's all.
Yes, they did. Yeah. That's not an easy thing to do.
Mm-mm.
To me, and you know, and trust me, guys, it took everything I had to keep Bill watching the show because we had started off by watching it together with pants on. I mean, we that was the deal. That was the deal, and I can't tell you keeping him into it. But the thing that aggravated me about S.H.I.E.L.D. in the beginning was it kind of felt like the soft version of the A-Team, where you kind of had, you know, your kind of stereotypical roles applied to, you know, with the Marvel characters, and everyone's kind of, you know, it was a little bit, I don't know, it seemed like the emotions were held in check. Of course, you know, they're trying to build upon things, but they wasn't using a whole lot of the old, you know, everyone got excited about Hydra, but Centipede, nobody quite knew where they were going with it. It was very reserved. To me, after the half, I swear this is a true story. My friend used to work in Hollywood. He was an assistant in the production area. And he said that normally in first seasons, it really picks up after the break. But when they started, and Gord, I totally agree with you what you're saying about between the fanboys and the general storytelling. But to me, it was a combination that for some reason the emotions were better. They stopped doing the typical stuff they were doing in the first half, which Skye acting all womanly, Ward being the, you know, Mr. T type, and the twins being goofy and all that. And they were hitting on all the fanboy points, which made, you know, the old schoolers happy. But the emotions were there, the storyline got great, the tension was good. It all fell into place almost immediately.
Mm-hmm. Well, Frank, can I ask you a question? Are you wearing pants right now?
Well, you want me to be brutally honest? I am
Please
wearing
don't.
shorts.
Please.
Again, we're glad this is an audio podcast.
I am in the process of changing shirts, but here's the deal, though. I worry about Brant because I envision Brant right now with like Howard Hughes with a long beard and long nails, and there's bottles around him that are empty that he urinates.
No.
Oh.
But I am wearing pants, though.
I do have a bottle of spring water, though.
Oh, he calls it spring water.
Oh, Lord.
Kido.
Right now, John is listening to this going, oh my God, I really should be there to keep those guys in line. Sorry, John.
Zone 4, going where it's never gone before. Oh, yes.
So, should we talk a little bit about these two Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. episodes? A little bit more than we have?
We have to, totally. I mean, the first one, the post Winter Soldier one, obviously was the one with all the reveals and the action.
Mm-hmm.
And Ward's an evil SOB. The thing with me with that is, again, this is why I'm getting creeped out by the show, because the whole point of Hydra is they're like your best friend until they stab you in the back. Yep. And, that carried into this week's episode where, Coulson didn't want to let the other guy on the plane to go with them. Yep. Because you get it now. They're all becoming paranoid. They have no clue who they can or can't trust.
Yeah. And, in that first episode, I love the way that all the suspicion led up to May. Yeah. And, you had Fitz following this line and everything and all this stuff, and then there's that's how we left it off, and then there's a standoff between all of them, and then it all kind of blows up from there. And, going into this episode, you mentioned that not knowing who to trust and everything, and we see a scene with Raina and Ward where he just goes into that character and repeats that line from early episodes, how he won Coulson's trust in the first place, and then he just kind of gives that smirk. And that kind of paints the picture that you were talking about perfectly, Ron.
Oh, my God, yeah. And they really, really, this is awesome writing, because Raina, now, I'm starting to wonder if she isn't going to turn on them. Yeah. Because she's really offended that they manipulated her. Mm-hmm. Remember when Paxton's supposed to be the clairvoyant, and she goes, "You lied to me?"
Yep.
And he looks at her, and he's playing this goofball villain. I mean, I almost fell off the couch laughing when that Hydra soldier, sticks up both fists and goes, "Hail Hydra!" And he's like getting carried away there, Mac. It's like, I'm like,
cheerleader.
Yeah, right, exactly. And I'm like, what? So he's coming off as this really, smarmy villain. With Ward being the more deadly of the two for sure. But Raina, Raina's upset. There's a bit about Raina that she's not, she even questions Ward, how he could betray Coulson.
Yeah.
But then he turns around and points at Grant and says, well, I owe him everything, Right. So now, we're looking at the trailers for next week, all right, and this whole bit about, what's his name, Oswald?
Yeah, Patton Oswalt.
That was hilarious. That was absolutely a riot. And there's a lot of this show that even plays off of Winter Soldier, all right? Because one of the things that happened in Winter Soldier that we've talked about, and we have to connect it with S.H.I.E.L.D. because these writers are amazing. One of the minor storylines in Winter Soldier, and you guys have all brought it out, was the Black Widow teaching spycraft to Steve. Mm-hmm. All right, to make him a little bit more edgy and aware that everybody isn't a nice guy. Right. Yet, if you'll recall, at the end of the film, there's a point where she looks at him and she goes, "You trust me?" And he looks at her flat out and says, "With my life." That's where she has an issue of not being able to trust people, and that's what he's teaching her. Well, that carries right over into this world of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now. Because now it's becoming this whole, who do you trust, who do you not trust? And one of the scenes I loved in this week's episode was Coulson trying to kick off this African-American guy because, you were with Grant all this time, you never recognized anything. And the guy goes, well, that doesn't mean I'm a bad guy like him. All right, that's what they do. But Coulson's not wanting to listen. And who speaks up for him but Simmons, because he saved her life.
Right.
When the hub was taken, he was the guy who saved her life, and she gets it. So she turns around and she tells Coulson, "Oh no, he's coming, Coulson. This isn't a democracy." And she looks at him, she goes, "Oh yes, it is." And I went, "Oh yeah, that was brilliant writing."
Yeah.
And she got away. But he turns around and says, "But he's under your charge now."
Yeah. You know,
Let me ask you this question. My epic fail for the episode was guessing what was at the bottom of the underneath the floor.
uh-huh.
My dumbass said it was Loki's scepter. Don't ask me why, okay? Don't ask me why he said that. But obviously it's graviton.
Right.
Or the graviton entity.
yes.
So question is, weapon, or do you think graviton's gonna go balls out on both sides?
I don't know. I kind of thought it'd be the actual guy coming out of it somehow, but I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Do
expecting.
you think he uses a weapon, or do you think that he's gonna go cause chaos on both sides?
Well, I think he's going to show up, and I think Hydra thinks they can control him.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen.
Right.
And you're right. I think it's going to be chaos galore. Okay, because I don't think they can control him.
No, Ron, you.
You hit a good point though, Ron. The fact that Bill Paxton, who plays great dicks in the movies over the years. It's funny how you wonder if the fact that with his exposure now, the fact that people are not going to react happily. Here he is kind of taking everything casually, where Hydra is more of a religious zealot. I can't even say it. The religious zealotism, where they take it very, very, very seriously. And I wonder if that's going to catch up with him.
Again, keep in mind, all right, he wears that smarmy, persona, all right, like putting down the guy who was overzealot and whatever. But at the same time, I mean, he has betrayed people that he's known for 10, 20 years. And, to me, it's like it's like high, and that's what we're talking about here, okay? He's maniacal. I mean, he's to me the definition of a sociopath. He's just going to smile and shoot you in the head while he does it.
Yeah.
No, so I'm not put off by that buffoonery at all. All right, and we saw what's his name? We saw Ward do the same thing when they broke into the fridge. They got in the elevator with those two guys, and Ward pulls out his gun and shoots both of them in the head without blinking.
Yeah.
All right, I mean they're portraying Hydra as totally conscienceless. I mean they have no conscience whatsoever. They are villainous to the core. And it just came out full bore in this episode this week, so that Ward's being unleashed on his own teammates, and I'm sitting on the edge of my chair. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the storyline has gone into overdrive, and I can't wait for each episode to come now.
Yeah. Now, Ron, you mentioned Black Widow, and I wanted to know if you caught this because I'm kind of wondering about Ward now. Garrett compares him to Romanov. He says, you're almost as bad as Romanov. And he just kind of, I don't know, they focus on him for a minute. So I could see him actually being a double spy.
No, it's not.
You
no.
don't think so?
No. You know why? Because when he shot Hand, at the end, Agent Hand, on the plane to save Garrett.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, he shot her 3 times to make sure she was dead. Okay, and then now there's been all kinds of hype on the internet. They're going to bring her back. I'm like, bullshit. You gave her 3 in the head. She's dead. She's gone. Okay. The point is, when that episode ended, Brant, I found myself going, up until he kills those people on that plane, he could have easily been a double agent. But his willingness to kill, all right, going back to when he shoots the fake clairvoyant in the chair, right, and says, "Oh, I did that for Sky." Bullshit. Okay, that to me, that crossed the line to the point where you really got his true nature. He is a killer, and that's what he does. He kills. He is a killer. He is a villain.
But then again, so is Black Widow. In the right situation.
Well,
go ahead.
Brant, let me just to kind of go off your point, Brant. If you think back to the way Hydra's defined in the movie, they're all about order. They are about imposing order at any price. And the way they've had to do that is to really sneak into, they kind of took over S.H.I.E.L.D. from within and they played a long game. I can't see Ward all of a sudden saying, hey, I'm a double agent, and having Hand and all the people he's killed be life model decoys, for example. But I can see the trope where, okay, he's caught between Bill Paxton and Coulson. Paxton saying, hey, look, we're Hydra. We're all about order. You need to follow us. And Coulson saying, look, there's a decent guy in there. You know, we're your friends. We're this. You know, Sky's like, hey, you know, we're going to have that talk. You know, maybe we'll do some smooching if you're lucky and you get a little drunk. I can see that happening.
Okay.
Because
that's
fair.
Know,
yeah, but now, you've obviously seen the trailers for next week's episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Where he and Sky are getting a little romantic, and there's a point where he starts telling her he's really a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's supposedly taking his mask off. All right, to a degree. The very next.
Ron, I use that line all the time. You know, I'm with a lady, you
callous gigolo, you. Oh my God.
No, I mean, it's like they'll say, "Oh, you're so nice, you're so sweet," and I say, "You know what? No, I'm really just a bad guy. This is only my public persona."
But the clip that comes after that, and that's what I'm leading up to here, guys. If you see the trailers, of course, trailers can be changed all around, but the clip after that is Sky alone, hiding herself someplace. And the look on her face is that she's figured it out. Okay?
Yeah.
So here's Ron's prediction, and I'll be all wet next week for sure. Again, when you guys do the show, you can all laugh afterwards. Sky's going to take Ward out.
Okay.
And not on a date.
No, and not on a date. Whether she kills him, maims him, wounds him, or whatever, but Sky's going to take him out.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I could see them setting up Triplet to be the Ward next season. You know, the super cool agent.
Yeah, I actually like him better, so that's fine with me.
And we've already gotten hints early in the season, guys. Keep in mind that there's something unusual about Sky.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? And now on top of all that, she's got this alien blood in her.
Right.
So that could manifest itself. She could surprise Ward. He could think she's still the fluffy, little computer hacker he's got wrapped around his finger and get the surprise of his life.
Yeah.
And that's the way this show's been going lately. It's one surprise after the other, popping like a bag of Jiffy Pop.
Exactly. And now we have Amy Acker to look forward to too, the cellist.
Oh, yes. Root from Person of Interest. Oh, I love her. I think she's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay.
All right. So, anything else to add? Any further points we want to make on these, or no?
Only if you are one of them sad naysayers who gave up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a long time ago, get back to Netflix quick, guys, okay? Because you really, really have to be watching this show.
Yeah. Go to abc.com.
Yeah.
Brian, I would like to say that I think the battle cry for Zone 4 should be Hail Fowler.
Hail Fowler? I'm down with that. No. But
Coach!
But no, yeah, I totally agree. This, especially with all the connections to the films now, and I can't wait. I mean, I'm looking forward to Guardians of the Galaxy, but I can't wait for the next, Earthbound Marvel movie to see.
Which would be Ant-Man, right?
Is Ant-Man the next one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the next one is Ant-Man.
Yeah,
and of course, we haven't seen anything at all about that because everybody's talking about Age of Ultron and Cap 3 now and all this stuff. But the next film, it's in production. They've got the cast. They're working on it. So by the time we get to Guardians of the Galaxy, they're going to start promoting Ant-Man, and that's going to be the next Earthbound one. So be interesting to see if it has any preludes to the second Avenger.
Gotcha. Yeah, for some reason I was thinking Avengers 3 came before Ant-Man, but that wouldn't make much sense.
No, it is Ant-Man. Ant-Man's next.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to all this, and we already know that Fury is going to show up in the season finale of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
So
and there's been a lot of talk of Maria Hill being a semi-regular next season on Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I am all for. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, because How I Met Your Mother is over. So
yeah right.
Yep, and to go back to Captain America Winter Soldier for a few moments, did anyone catch the Easter egg at the very end with Fury and Cap and Natasha in the cemetery?
I
with the
remember scene.
headstone.
I remember the
Okay,
headstone.
what was
on it?
It said the path of the righteous man, Ezekiel 24:15. That is a reference to Pulp Fiction.
Huh.
That's when Samuel L. Jackson says, in the coffee shop.
That's funny.
Uh-huh.
See, this is why I'm a host on Zone 4, listeners, because
Yep.
I bring culture and refinement and knowledge.
Well, you know the Easter egg.
And charm.
In a very Rain Man-ish type of way, Gordon.
My favorite Easter egg vocal was when the Hydra agents are talking about all the millions they've got targeted, especially the ones that could do them harm, and they start rattling off a list.
Uh-huh.
And in the middle of that list is Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I went, yes,
Mhm.
yes, all right.
I'm sure Bill Glyman sat up straight at that mention. But there was also a tiny little Easter egg in this week's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know if you guys caught this. Garrett and Ward were at the fridge, and they talked about a prisoner that Garrett put away years ago named Johnny Horton, who I looked up is an old Marvel character named the Griffin from 1972. Yeah.
Oh.
Well, see, I was thinking the singer who did the Battle of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Different
In
Johnny.
1814,
Yeah.
took a little trip.
But no, when the one he said the guy put on lion paws as hands.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the Griffin. Yeah. So I love those little things they throw in there.
Yes, we do.
All right, so I guess that's going to wrap up our show then. It can be a short one this week, but I think we covered everything as well as we need to. So if you haven't seen Captain America the Winter Soldier, go see it.
You're lame. You're lame if you haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. We're talking to you, Chuck Moore. Get out to the theater and watch the movie. And Chris, I know you haven't either, but I know your theaters in the area aren't very good, so I understand. But no, Chuck, go see it. And yeah, definitely catch up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because this is a fantastic show and it's only going to get better from here.
Yep.
All right. So before we...
It's got the Zone 4 seal of approval.
It definitely does. And Marvel owns DC. So in the cinematic universes.
Yep.
Sorry. All right, so before we get out of here, we'll do as we do each and every week, go around the table and see what everybody has coming up, coming out, and going on. Frank, we'll start with you.
Man, I'm just not as active as you guys are. I mean, I feel, well, no, I take that back. I'm more active than Brant because I go to work outside my house.
I stand up every once in a while.
No, I mean, besides the fact when we participate in the local stores around here for Free Comic Book Day, Twilight Star Studios will have I think it's another side game book coming out. And then, of course, I'm going to be down there at Derby, see you guys. And, Brant, you are going to be down there, correct?
I will be there.
And other than that, it's going to be Champion City. And that's about it right now, guys. It's a little quiet on the front.
Okay. That's fine. And Rayman Power Hour, Monday.
Oh, I forgot. Rayman Power Hour, yes. We did talk Brant into bringing us back. And we're not quite as regular. I sound like an old man now. We're not quite as regular as we were.
We'll buy some.
But,
Metamucil.
Yeah, we are going to be doing some shows. So very
Thai
excited
food.
about doing that. Yeah, Thai food. And that's about it.
All right, cool. So yeah, look for that new episode on this coming Monday. All right, Ron?
Okie doke. Airship 27 just released its latest pulp novel, and one we're really, really excited about. It's called The Vril Agenda, written by Derek Ferguson and Joshua Reynolds, and it's really a great book. Please go check it out. Available at Amazon in hard copy on Kindle. It basically ties up, if you like crossovers, it's basically the story of a young African-American adventurer who goes to seek out this old classic pulp hero from the 1930s, Jim Anthony, who's still around. He's in his 70s. And Dylan goes to see him to get him to be his mentor. And no sooner than they hook up than they're attacked by these, Hydra-like villains from the past. It's a great book. The Vril Agenda. Check it out on Amazon, please. Yours truly is going to be at the first ever Fort Collins Comic Show, which is being called the FOCO Comics and Gaming Festival, being held right here in Fort Collins, Colorado, this coming Saturday the 19th, to be the day after you guys are listening to this. It's located at the Drake Center in the middle of town. That's on the juncture of Drake and Shields, and it's from 11 in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I will be there with tons of comics from Mr. Jigsaw to my new Terminator graphic novel to a lot of my pulp stuff as well. So, hey, please stop on by to do that. And finally, the week after, when most of the comic-related gang, as we mentioned, is going to be at C2E2, I will be in Lombard, which is a suburb of Chicago, with Airship 27, my pulp company. We've got 2 huge tables there. We're going to have a ball. Gordon will be joining us on Sunday afternoon to host one of the pulp panels with writers and artist creators. So it looks like a fun show. This will be the 9th year that we're in attendance at the show. And so that's what's keeping me busy, guys, hopping all the time.
Awesome. And Gordon?
Right.
Oh.
Okay.
I thought Frank was saying something. Sorry.
No problem. Well, okay, you better get a paper and pencil, kids, because it's going to be a long list. This Saturday, I will be there. Columbia College is some students are running a kind of a one-day mini-con, and I have been asked to sit on a panel called "The Comeback of Sherlock Holmes." So it'll be at Columbia College at 1104 South Wabash this Saturday from 11 to 4. So if you know a student, young people, you want to get them out, you can come see me there. I will be at C2E2 next Friday and Saturday, but the Thursday before then, Third Coast Comics, run by my pal Terry, located at 6234 North Broadway, is sponsoring a signing by Gail Simone. So Third Coast and C2E2, it's from 3 to 7 on Thursday. She'll be signing books. You can come, ask her questions. Go up to Terry and tell him that Matt Smith is the best Doctor Who ever. In fact, I dare you to. And come back to me with the results. Next Friday and Saturday, I'll be at C2E2. Saturday, I'll be running Whose Doctor Is It Anyway in the Fan Village, where we'll just have a live discussion. It's 11:45 to 12:45 in room S100A. As Ron pointed out, Sunday I'll be running the Publishing New Pulp panel at noon at the Yorktown Westin in Lombard. If you're getting there from C2E2, you can take the Metro to Des Plaines and grab a shuttle. You can take I-290 North to 88 West and get off at Highland Avenue. Or you can grab a cab and pay cab fare, but take a few hours, come to the Pulp Show, say hi to Ron, and say hi to Rob at Airship 27, and you'll see all sorts of cool books. And I am proud to say that, and you'll be hearing more about this, but I actually had a proposed a fiction piece, and I've been given the go-ahead, so once I finish writing it, and it's basically what the publisher doesn't know is I promised him a 15,000 word story. It's going to be the word bacon repeated 15,000 times.
Oh, nice.
But I'll keep you updated. It's a really, really cool opportunity for me. And and May 3rd I will be on a panel at Joss Whedonish Celebration at DePaul's College of Communication at 14 East Jackson. And I've also planning for Chicago TARDIS this year has just started, so I will be busy doing that, and I am spent.
That is a lot.
You gotta clone yourself, buddy. That's all there is to it. Wow.
All right, so I've got a few things for me and a couple of things for comic related. So first of all, for John Wilson, who is not here, I want to remind everybody of the River City Comic Expo Louisville that takes place on May 10th, which I will be set up at. So come say hi to me. And let's see, there are a couple of new podcasts. One of them we mentioned last week that's part of the Zone 4 family debuted this week. It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a podcast. And it is Chris Ventura's new podcast that Zone 4 actually has a segment on that show and will continue to each and every week. I'm also in another segment on the show doing a rundown of the next week's comics. But it's basically him just talking about different things, and it's really good. I listened to the first episode. It is up on the Zone 4 website, so please go check that out. It will be up on Comic Related soon. And there is another new podcast coming to Comic Related starting next week called Superheroes Speak. And it's celebrating its 1-year anniversary next week with a debut on Comic Related, so that's really cool. And I've had a chance to listen to their show, and they actually do kind of a spin-off show about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. As well. So,
okay.
So definitely check that out once it hits Comic Related. Chris and I did this as we're recording this, which is Thursday, early this morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. We did an advanced review of Son of Batman. So you can find that on Chris's channel on YouTube. It's Dark Avenger C86 is his channel. And yeah, really good movie. Once it comes out on May 6th, please go purchase it because it is a really fantastic animated movie from DC. And I'm working on Binary Gray, wrapping up issue 7 this weekend. Hopefully issue 8 is almost done. A lot of stuff coming out of Assailant Comics, so please check them out. And that's all I've got for this week. So, does anybody want to read us out this time?
You know what? I will.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. We'd like to thank our sponsor once again, Audible.com. Go to audibletrial.com/Zone4Podcast for a free 30-day trial and book download. And yes, you can download books on pajamas, thanks to Brant. Don't forget C2E2, April 25th through 27th. You can learn more at c2e2.com. We'd also like to thank the official bands of Zone 4, the Ray Wall Band and Society's Plague, that you hear on the show each and every week. They're both American bands. They're coming to your town, and if you're lucky, they'll help you party down. If you have any comments, questions, bacon recipes, or suggestions for us, send those to zone4@comicrelated.com, and we'll ignore all but the bacon recipes. We are also a proud member of the Comic Related Podcast Network. And as always, thanks for listening. You are now leaving Zone 4.
Bye, everybody.
Good night, all.
Hail Hydra.
Hail Fowler.
I didn't make it sure I'm playing by the rules. I come apart, baby, but now I'm fine.
Next up is Gordon Domowski, avid Again, I know what's coming. Next up is Gordon Domowski, avid Doctor Who fan who turned his love for the famed British television show into a business. He opened... Come on, you can do it. Okay. This is good. This is the only part that you're going to have to cut little pieces together. Okay. He opened up the TARDIS, a Chicago comedy club where he's found doing... Why do you do this to me? I can't do it. Where he's found doing stand-up 3 nights a week. His best... Welcome to another episode of Somewhat Rich and Kind of Famous. I'm your host, Robin Mooch. Today, we talk... that's already going into British instead of frickin'... Oh, God. What am I doing? Today, we take you on a journey through the headquarters of the with humble beginnings using cans... That's another thing that I can't... When I read that, I died. Cans tied to string. I said from that point, I said, oh no, Brent's got this going in for me. Before we get to our tour, though, let's catch up with some of the other members and see what they've been up to. Why do I sound like John all of a sudden? God, see, this is what happens when you listen to too many Zone 4 skits, people. I know this is going to be in the bloopers, probably. So, might as well, hi, Mom. How are you? You're not listening to this anyway. Here we go. Zone 4 is now a full-fledged radio station, complete with a studio from music. Oh God, I remember this now. Complete with a studio for music recording, where you can hear Brant making the latest Zone 4 album, Be With Me. Damn it, Brant.
Hey, you're the one that asked me to do this.
I know, but you didn't have to kill me while in the process.
Hello.
Hey, how you
Hi,
doing?
Frank.
Hey, Frank.
Oh my God. It's the Big G himself.
Yes.
Is Ron here?
Captain Ron is here. Yes, sir.
All right. I can't believe you finally got me on with Gordon. That's just like, I don't know. I can't. Now I don't get free drinks anymore now.
Yeah, no. It only took us 5 years to do it. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had to come up with something spectacular after that 3-hour megathon last week.
Exactly.
Well, you know what? You know what it means now? I want to go as Brant now because Brant never leaves the house, so it'd be easier to impersonate him now.
There you go. Ooh.
I do that all the time, Frank. I make prank phone calls. I usually say, "Oh yeah, my name is Brant Fowler, and I'd like to order 20 pineapple and anchovy pizzas. Send them to John Wilson."
Put plenty of bacon on that. Oh, there we go.
You got to do the lame thing, like, "Hey, this is Brant Feller. Is your refrigerator running?" Oh my God, really? Brant, thanks for sending me the agenda. Not like 2 minutes before we go on the air. I really do appreciate that.
You got an agenda? Oh my God.
Yeah.
You ought to feel privileged, Frank.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Frank, consider yourself lucky. I got mine via fax, scribbled in crayon.
And it was yellow crayon. He could barely see it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Brant did probably see it.
Yep.
He saw the Korean version while on his laptop.
I actually went to the theater on last Friday, and saw it. So. And I've seen both episodes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. since. So.
Okay, Brant, just to make sure, this isn't the one where he's using his transparent shield on his motorcycle. Okay, you didn't see that one.
Oh, that's not the right one?
Yeah, that's not the right one.
Oh man, I'm sorry. I thought it was the one with Red Skull's headquarters were like in the back room of a store or something. Was that not the right one either? No.
Yeah.
Okay. No. No, I saw the right one. I hope.
This has been a Gonzo Goose production.